Ladies and gentlemen, this is just out on Fox. Fox News. FBI received hacked email suggesting Clinton cover-up effort. So, we've already learned a couple of things over the past 2 years regarding the issue of gross negligence. If you type in Clinton emails gross negligence, State Department says 15 officials broke security rules linked to Clinton. So, there was a whole 23 to 30 security violations. 15 people broke rules trying to set up her servers. The State Department actually has no record of her servers. This is interesting. So the State Department, in an interrogatory in a Judicial Watch interrogatory a couple of years back, said, well, we have no record. We had no way to access, Clinton's emails. And we have no record on our own of Clinton's emails. Then just recently, State Department says 15 officials broke security rules. And that to try to set up Clinton's server or have it function. Then there was 23 to 30 security incidents. Then, of course, we get the FBI chart showing gross negligence is not an option. So this is interesting. FBI chart shows gross negligence not an option to prosecute Madam Cyberhack, the Golden Muumuu. So they couldn't charge or indict the Secretary of State, Clinton, because the DOJ, the FBI chart showed the DOJ would not allow it. But the bizarre thing is that the FBI shouldn't care. The FBI and DOJ are separate agencies. It doesn't matter if the FBI relies on the DOJ to actually indict based on the evidence it compiles. Notice how there was no deferential treatment, no reverence, no second chances with anyone associated with Trump. But if it's Clinton, oh my God, there's an actual chart, and they signed consent agreements, actual consent agreements with Clinton's attorneys. So stating that they couldn't look at Clinton Foundation emails. All right. We can go on the abnormalities, the anomalies, the breaks in protocol are endless. It is obvious they covered up Clinton's crimes. You cannot transfer top secret and special access program intelligence outside of the United States government onto servers, one of which was in Clinton's basement. But let's continue. Let's just read this. A chart disseminating within the FBI. A chart disseminated within the FBI excluded gross negligence from a collection of statutes by which former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton could be prosecuted for the use of an unauthorized private email server. 18 U.S. Code 793F was excluded from the chart. Are you kidding me? So gross negligence is the statute that applies if the belief is that Clinton didn't intentionally use servers outside of the United States government to hide her communication, which, by the way, is why you would use a server. That's exactly why you would use a server or servers. That is exactly inherently the intent. But let's listen to this. This is interesting. This is just like an hour ago, less than an hour ago. Let's watch this.
Thank you. I remember the Comey testimony vividly because I write extensively about it in my book. And, it strikes me that...
By the way, Jarrett has a very good book. Greg Jarrett. Very, very, very good book on all of this.
That if there's an email that essentially, Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, is saying, I'm not going to let this case go too far against Hillary Clinton. My goodness, doesn't that need to be declassified?
Yes, indeed. Greg, I think you and I and the American people are in agreement. We need more rather than less, and there should, especially in light of all the questions, very serious questions, about the integrity of the FBI's leadership, and even touching on the Justice Department during that period in 2016, before the president was elected. We need declassification. Happily, as you know, President Trump has delegated that responsibility to the Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr, who's very experienced, and he's going to do a very professional job of protecting national security, sources and methods. But
sources and methods, sources and methods, sources and methods. So this is pretty interesting. It's possible, and this is Ken Starr, by the way, and Ken Starr was like the most establishment guy when it came to the Mueller report. He was like, or the Mueller probe. He's like, oh my God, the special counsel was fantastic and it was great. And, well, thank goodness, Trump didn't collude with anyone. And actually, he wasn't so much anti-Trump as he was pro-establishment. So he was a special counsel during Clinton's time, but Clinton actually lied about what he did in the Oval Office. I just want to tell you, we were talking about ICBMs, ballistic missiles. I was just using a prop. I was only using a prop. And Clinton eventually, the House found him guilty of not only obstruction, but of perjury. So there you go. What is. They hide behind semantics and they think they're slick. It's pretty easy what's going on. The left, the Democratic Party, is paving the way for you-know-who. Yes, Hillary Clinton is going to run again for president. People say, how can this happen? It's all, the walls are closing in. It doesn't matter. It's probably going to be. I think it's, not only is it almost, Clinton is running again, but it could very well be that there's another email investigation to where William Barr officially launches an official email investigation, a relaunch, or investigates it yet again because they're finding out all of this information. You cannot, if you're the FBI and you have this information out where you have an email showing the DOJ would not indict based on gross negligence, and then you have the same DOJ and FBI unmasking names using 100 names, using 500 search warrants, starting a special counsel, doing everything possible to deceive FISA judges, doing every single thing possible to ensure that one political side not only gets investigated, but gets investigated based on evidence that was purchased by Clinton. So the Steele dossier, and I explained this in my article that Rush Limbaugh shared below in the pinned comment. The Steele dossier, purchased by Clinton. CrowdStrike, outsourced by Clinton. Alexander Downer, linked to the Clinton Foundation. Joseph Mifsud, linked to Western Intelligence. Natalia Veselnitskaya met before and after with Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS. I mean, every single possible... And nobody knows this on the left or in mainstream media. Most people don't know any of this. They don't care. So the declassification process is going to be very interesting. But I think it can be almost an exact repeat of 2016. Clinton is going to run, but I think that they could relaunch a new Clinton email investigation because we're finding out all of this. At the end of the day, Clinton's going to get indicted. She's going to lose the election, then get indicted. Before then, you'll have a bunch of people being charged. If anything, by the 18 U.S. Code 371 statute that I talk about in one of my Federalist articles. But let's continue.
But also then getting the information out that we, the people, need in order to make our own judgment about what happened.
David, the evidence is pretty compelling that the fix was in, that Hillary Clinton was not going to be charged. And I'll point your attention to what Peter Strzok said in private testimony. He said that it was the DOJ attorneys that told the FBI to change gross negligence to extremely careless. And then his lover, Lisa Page, testified that the DOJ said, quote, "You're not going to charge gross negligence." Was the fix in?
Absolutely. I mean, it's very, very troubling. And remember, Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, said that he didn't have access to all of the emails. So,
all right, so now everyone is saying what I've been saying since 2016. Everyone is saying that the fix was in. I wrote in the Daily Caller, the FBI's email investigation of Clinton is almost certainly a cover-up. That was in 2016. Okay? I have been saying the same things consistently, and now it is becoming mainstream news, you could say, doesn't ever discuss any of this, but you could say conservative, I would say conservative outlets, especially Fox, and the more mainstream conservative publications are saying exactly what I've been saying, even when I was on the left, which people on the left would be like, "Oh my God, conservatives agreed with you?" And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? It happened. The left is very interesting. Democrats are very interesting. They don't care about the information. They care about the source of information. It's kind of like this programming, this mass programming of people's brains through media that just goes from one propaganda spin to another propaganda spin on the left, and they don't care. Majority of people who vote Democrat, they're just like anybody else. They're focused on their lives, but their viewpoint is, well, climate change is, existential. Certain issues, whether it's climate change or whether it's any other issue on the left that they feel is existential, they'll view any criminal behavior, unethical conduct, any example of a violation of government authority or power influence, they'll view that as, well, that's just the way politics is done. And you know what? That if we have to engage in this behavior, then so be it. And they've actually convinced themselves that Trump is a criminal. He's done nothing. And they convinced themselves that Clinton is not a criminal, and really that Trump is the guy who flaunts laws and the rule of law. It's like they literally purchased an entire investigation. They literally purchased their own reality investigation into Trump with the Steele dossier and everything else, and corrupt FBI agents. And they don't care about any of this. They don't care there's an email that says, "Oh yeah, you're not going to indict on gross negligence." Because if you're just not, it's not going to happen. The fix not only was in, it was, you cannot talk about the Mueller probe without the Clinton email investigation. I will repeat. You can repeat that 1,000,000 times. Below in the comments section, just repeat that 1,000,000 times. You cannot talk about the Mueller probe without first talking about the Clinton email cover-up. That is what the Mueller probe, that is what Russia is all about. And when she enters the race, when she enters the election, when people say, "Oh, she's not running again," who are they going to go with? Biden? 1% Botox Biden? Who are they going to go with? Well, she would never run again. Who do they have that's better? You have there are more Congress people saying now, yeah, the current field can't defeat Trump. Well, then who are they referring to? Willie Brown writes an article, former mayor of San Francisco, knows the California senator quite well. Okay, they're hit pieces on Biden in the New York Times. Well, then who are they referring to? But Bernie Sanders, they'll never let ever. The guy's foments the same myth that says that that Russia informed the country that he was cheated. Russia informed the country that I was cheated. Oh my God. So, who are they referring to? The California senator? No. Willie Brown already stated that ain't happening. That Trump will easily defeat. I mean, if you look at Willie Brown's article, and I talk about that the other day, basically announced Clinton's 2020 campaign. So, I mean, who are they referring to? They're referring to Clinton. Don't be deceived. I'm telling you, like, it's important to understand why this is all happening. You have two very powerful people who spent decades in government influencing politics, which means also in the United States of America influencing media. Media and politics have merged. Media, politics, morality, ethics, culture is now media according to the left. Everything is offensive, everything is this, everything is that. These pseudo-intellectual theories that, don't really hold up. They don't really, whatever, I'm not going to get into anything. So look, everything's offensive except when they offend, except when they engage in the most offensive revisionist history, AOC, for example, and I explain in my Jerusalem Post article. Please share my Jerusalem Post article everywhere. It is below in the pinned comment. And by the way, happy 4th of July. God bless America. God bless you. Have a safe and happy and healthy 4th of July. And I'll just say this. I am very proud to be American. I'm very proud to have the history that we have as a country, although, of course, there are horrible instances of injustice. But that's part of knowing your history. And that's part of advancing and moving forward as a country. You need to know every aspect of your history as a country, as a people, and you need to ensure that the country always searches and reaches and kind of attains a higher level of morality and a higher level of justice for everyone, for all Americans. And that's what we're doing as a country, and that's what we were able to do with the Constitution. I think what's taking place right now is a small, vocal, Twitter-fueled, social media-fueled outrage cult has tried to take over American history and politics and culture. And it's not sustainable, because guess what? If you really want to go there, George Washington could be painted as a horrible human being. Guess what? George Washington should be viewed as a hero, a founder of the country, even though we do understand that he engaged in acts that would be seen, that are horrible, okay? That doesn't mean that you just paint, it doesn't mean you judge somebody by the standards of 2019 social media. You can't, the left is always asking for context. When a congresswoman says the most horrendous things about a country I had my bar mitzvah in, or when another congresswoman completely makes revisionist history claims, everything is context. Always look at context. Always look at context. You have to look at the context. You can't judge based on the specific words. And when Clinton engages in racism, called black youth super predators, Hillary did. Actually, Clinton referred to Mahatma Gandhi as a gas station attendant, another disgusting thing. We can go on forever. Clinton shared a photo of Obama in African attire, where David Plouffe said it was the most offensive and shameful fear-mongering. But she's going to be the next... She was not only the Democratic Party's 2016 nominee, but they blamed Russia in a fabricated nonsensical hoax that everyone believes is actually slowly getting completely dismantled, and she'll be the 2020 nominee. Oh, yes, she will. Are you kidding me? If she runs again, she's going to be the nominee. And actually, I should start saying that. She's going to be the 2020 nominee. Boom, the case closed. That's it. But you see, their vantage point is never, it's not consistent. All they care about is the attainment of political power. And so if it's a shoe with the flag, oh my God, that flag is associated with horrible things. But this flag we have now is not. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break. You either love the country and you understand the problems that we have had, and also the beautiful things that have taken place, and the fact that we're always striving to achieve justice and achieve a higher level of morality, and that's a good thing. And you either look at U.S. history and say, hey, these are good things that took place amid a whole lot of, bad things or things that we would not consider good. But luckily, thank God, we've strived to make American society a lot more equitable and just. But we would never have been able to make the society that is currently the most popular country in the world. I mean, look what's taking place. You have people who are risking their lives and losing their lives trying to get here, even in this day and age, when people on the left are like, oh my God, we're the bastion of the most horrible things on the planet. People are still risking their lives. We wouldn't have had this country were it not for people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. And we would not have had this country, the country that is still a beacon of hope for millions of people throughout the world who are trying to get here and risking their lives, were it not for the Constitution. There's more to celebrate, a lot more to celebrate than there is to condemn. And the condemnation without any compassion or context is a hallmark of the left. And when it's all said and done, they're going to get offended by a flag. There's one professor who, I'm not going to get into it, but he wrote, this guy says, oh, well, this flag should be taken off the athletic shoes, okay? He wrote a 10,000-word essay on why they should elect Clinton in 2016. And Clinton called black youth super predators. So if you're going to go ahead and focus on context or focus on racism and racism in America's past, start with Clinton. Start with Clinton. Don't start with George Washington and then work your way and then just forget about every Democrat, or forget about the fact that Democrats engage even to this day in the most vile behavior. Give me your thoughts below. That's a whole. I'm actually, it's funny because I don't want to get into it. You get into anything like too in depth, and then like, oh no, the algorithm kicks in. We'll see how that one worked. But there's infinitely more to be proud of as a country and as a nation and as a people. And it's like this sounds horrendous, but if you don't like where you live, if you're so ashamed of the country you live in, maybe you want to move to a more equitable and just nation. Where maybe you want to move to a country in the world where they've had just the perfect past and nothing has ever taken place. Nothing that was ever horrendous or unjust or immoral has taken place, because that country doesn't exist. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. God bless America. God bless you. And like I said, another thing, if you don't like President Trump, try to vote for the most viable Democratic politician in 2020. Try to impeach him. See what happens. They're so gutless. They can't even impeach Trump, even though they think that he's going to end the entire universe. They're so duplicitous and disingenuous and hypocritical, they're going to nominate Clinton again in 2020. And then they're going to just implode in this cauldron of hypocrisy and duplicity and disingenuous, pseudo-intellectual, bizarre leftist ideology. And they won't know what to do with themselves in 2020 when Trump wins again. And they're like, oh my God! And staring them in the face will be a mirror image of everything they are. And the fleeting thought will be, maybe we've been wrong on everything. And of course, the people who do kind of realize that will either make the change and leave the left or just completely implode. But that thought will probably be fleeting, and most of them will be like, oh my God, China did something, or, it was somebody else. It wasn't us, and Clinton 2024. Give me your thoughts below. God bless America. God bless you. Happy 4th of July. And like I said, there's a lot more to be proud of as an American than ashamed of. And there's a lot more to be happy about in terms of our history. As long as you know the history of this country and you understand that there was injustice, but there was a push and there was a movement throughout every single era of American history for our country to become more just and more equitable. And that is based on a document, the U.S. Constitution, that has been the model for other nations. And that is a unique and beautiful document that allowed us to progress as a country. Give me your thoughts below. And to protect our nation and our world and our citizens from people like Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, and all of these people who covered up Clinton's emails, the Clinton email investigation, and set up and framed Trump. We're using the Constitution every single day, and this is a big example of how the Constitution will help protect people. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very much.